But yes, it's 3 minutes past the hour. So let's kick off. Let's see what we do. Um, I'm facilitating this evening, which means I get to talk first. This is the first of what we're calling First Tuesday talks. So there's a very strange noise in the background, which is very annoying, and I don't know what's causing it, but First Tuesday talks. They are conversations between various members of the faculty of the School of Humankind. We don't know what anyone else is going to say. We each have 2.5 minutes just to reflect on a topic. And then we'll have a further 2.5 minutes to reflect on what other people said. And maybe we'll agree with each other. Maybe we'll disagree with each other. Maybe we'll struggle to find connections between what we all bring in. That's all fine. One of the founding principles of the School of Humankind is we increasingly do not manage to have respectful and intelligent conversations. And we want to model and to have respectful, intelligent conversations. So that's what we're doing. We're using a very formal structure, 2.5 minutes for each of us. I won't actually scream stop if it gets to 2.5 minutes, but keep your eye on the timer, team, and wrap up as close to 2.5 as you can. And then a further 2.5 minutes to reflect. And then if anyone from our audience wants to contribute or comment or question, that would be very welcome, or we'll chat among ourselves and we'll wrap everything up in about 40 to 45 minutes. So tonight's topic, our starting point, is a quote that we believe comes from President Roosevelt. Is comparison, or he didn't say is, just he said, comparison is the thief of joy. Let's explore that a little bit. If Angela has her finger on the timer, very nice. Why don't we say, Wyndham, you go.
Thank you very much, John. Comparison is a thief of joy. It always feels to me that there's a real seductiveness to it. It's so short and concise, and it feels, to me anyway, like it is directing our effort and energy to solve the comparison bit in order to resolve a lack of joy. And that feels to me too surface level. I've always spoken about we can't address what we aren't aware of. So if we look at comparison, comparison is simply the observation of similarities and differences. So in no way do I have joy stolen by saying that tree is bigger than that tree, or this gap is big enough for my car, or I'm walking through the woods picking mushrooms with my field guide and I only pick the ones that aren't going to kill me because I compare them to the images. For me, comparison is just something we do. It's just an observation. And if we buy into comparison as the thief of joy, it focuses our attention trying to solve something that isn't the problem. But there is definitely a problem here. And I think the problem is the fact that we attach meaning to the outcomes of the comparison. And because we're human, they tend to be meanings about lack. I am less successful, I'm less powerful, I'm less beautiful, I'm less rich, whatever it might be. So where this saying would direct, I believe, my energy to solving comparison, we would benefit far more by directing our energies to understanding why we hold those definitions of success, beauty, power, whatever it might be, and understanding within ourselves why we have bought into such narrow definitions. Because if we don't solve that deeper meaning to ourselves, then we are destined to continue to experience those feelings, even when we have brought our awareness to this idea of comparison and can interrupt that action. We're still going to be left with the deeper emotions, the deeper feelings, the disconnection from who we really are and the things that are truly going to make us feel fulfilled. So I disagree. In a way, there's nuance to be had.
Beautiful. Thank you. There we go. We're up and running.
And like 2.5 minutes of
bang on.
How did you do that, man?
We're going to trot across the North Sea to Switzerland, to Vreni. And let's see where you come at this topic from. Take it away, Angela. Take it away, Vreni.
So thank you for this very interesting view on comparison. I kind of approached it in a different way. I did not know that I have to agree or disagree, because I was like, comparison is the thief of joy. Yes. And it's the thief of joy. Oh, no, not at all. And I would have been able to list like 100 examples for why comparison is the thief of joy, and 100 examples for why it's not. And I tried to look at those different examples I had and find out why in one situation it is the thief of joy, and in another it's not. And what I came up with was that it's important to know what the reason is to compare. So if we compare in order to just find the differences, as Wyndham said, and generate new ideas and just try to learn new skills, then like comparison is helping me to grow. It's helping me to improve and even to find joy. But when I compare in order to create a ranking and in order to judge what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad, then comparison becomes a thief of joy. So what I then kind of worked out was that when I have the attitude of just finding differences in order to learn, comparison creates inspiration for me. It creates motivation, and it is it kind of facilitates a healthy competition even that helps me to grow and improve and enjoy like my work, myself, my life. But when I compare in order to rank or to be ranked, or when I get judged, when I get compared and judged, then this creates fear, and it also creates me avoiding competition. I think this is what I came up with, what was a little bit of my aha moment. But I didn't come to a conclusion of a complete yes or no. So.
Lovely. Thank you. I don't think the complete yes or no is necessary, but it's a lot of fun. So let's head over to a place I can never quite pronounce, Saskatchewan. Is that good enough?
Saskatchewan, yes. Very
Saskatchewan.
good. You'll get it.
In Canada.
You've got it.
What do you reckon, Angela? Do you think you can both time and talk?
It's gonna be tough. I'll try. My
Pressure's on.
mouse fingers is already really nervous. Okay, here we go. Okay, so comparison to me is something that we as humans can't not do. And it's when we attach emotion to it is when we really have to watch out and be mindful of what kind of tool we're using it for. So when I say we can't stop doing it, it's because we are always looking out and seeing things from the vantage of self, because we can't help but do that. All we know is what we know. All we know is all the filters and all the inputs we've had through childhood, through adulthood to bring us to what we are today. So when we look at something and we say we like it or we don't like it, that's also part of building our personality. So I might like something, you might not like something, blah, blah, blah. We compare from that point of view. And so I think it's a very useful tool. But just like with, say, a hammer, who you use as a tool to build your house, it can also be used as a tool to destroy like a window, right? So we've got, if you use comparison, and the two speakers before me so eloquently say kind of the same thing, but you look at something and you see something that you like, and it inspires you to actually think, oh, I didn't know I could have that. This person did it, so I can do it too. But if you actually look at something and it gives you a negative feeling, anything that is other than inspiring or pure joy needs to be examined. So for instance, when you look at someone who looks like you want to look, say for instance, I have that a lot because, I kind of gained weight over the years, but I know over self-reflection that it's because I'm not consistent with my workout. So I that's a logical conclusion. But also, if you feel like judgy on someone, you should also do self-reflection, because everyone has their own journey. Everyone has their own things they're dealing with. So to feel also superior to someone because of your comparison is something you need to do some self-reflection. So it's an important tool and not necessarily the thief of joy. Ba-bing!
Beautifully done. Lovely. It's quite hard going forth because you've all said what I was going to say.
Okay, so then you can just say, done.
Yeah. I agree. No, okay. Let's give a little Irish contribution now. Let's see where we get to. Okay, so yeah, it depends, doesn't it? I mean, if you hate sprouts and love a peach, when you're eating a peach, if you think about sprouts, you'll feel really good about yourself. But if you're eating sprouts and you think about a peach, you'll feel lousy. Whether or not comparison is the thief of joy depends on what's being compared with what. As Angela says, it's a tool, and like all tools, we need to use it well. We need to know how to use it. Here's 2 suggestions for ways to use comparison as a healthy tool. First of all, make sure you are comparing like with like. I get people coming in my coaching work, younger or emerging or mid-career artists, and they start doing something and they start making a show or writing something, and they go, oh, it's terrible. I saw this show and it was so much better. And they go, no, 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 no. You saw a finished show and you're in the first week of your show. That is not like comparing with like. That will destroy all of your joy. Because someone who's 2 years into their career saying, this person's, doing amazing stuff. I go, they're 30 years into their career. You're not comparing like with like. An effective comparison needs to be between things which are like for like, at least in some definable way. But here's another way that we mess up when we compare. We compare things which have different baselines. You have somebody who comes, I have somebody who comes into a coaching thing and goes, I'm 30, Benedict Cumberbatch or Eddie Redmayne, by the time they were 30, they had 5 films and they'd done this. And I go, yeah, they went to a really posh school where their work was encouraged. Their acting work was encouraged and supported. They left into a network of contacts. They were able to fly to New York and Los Angeles to do auditions. And you're putting 40 hours a week in a local supermarket, stacking shelves just to survive. You cannot compare yourself with a situation which is entirely qualitatively different. Otherwise, you are simply wishing that you were someone else, and that really will destroy your joy.
Well done, John. Are you
Look
okay?
at that. None of us went on and on.
He had to
time was-
reduce his dramatic pause,
Yeah.
He's like,
And
Yeah,
he was
I
worried
don't know
he was worried he was going to overrun, so he sped up for a bit as well.
Yes,
You noticed that, did you? I went, okay, I'm about halfway through, 47 seconds. The timer's a fun discipline, though. I like it. I like the timer. So let's do it again. This is where it gets a little harder in some ways. There's a lot of agreement, but also different perspectives, and certainly I've got moments of insight in what I'm hearing from the three of you. So let's just go back now, and we're going to take 2.5 minutes each to reflect on what the other said, or possibly on how what the other said made you question what you had said or whatever. But it's sort of round two. There's a significant measure of agreement between us. Let's see if we can start to pick things apart a little bit and dig into a bit more detail. We'll go in the same order, if that's okay with everyone. So, Wyndham, what do you reckon?
I agree with you. I think there is a great deal of agreement between us. The two things that really stood out for me, from both Vreni and Angela, this idea of comparison is unavoidable. It's a part of our human nature. It's a tool, but it's how do we use that tool? Do we use it to create or destroy? Can we face comparison? Can we bring our awareness to it in such a way that at the point our brain says, I'm jealous, I'm envious, there's a lack in my life, we can interrupt that and make a choice to be inspired, to be motivated. Many years ago, a colleague of mine and I were chatting, and we both wanted to leave London, live somewhere else. 12 months later, I'd done nothing about it, and she was just about to move house. And she told me that she was saying, yeah, we're moving at the weekend. And in that moment, my brain told me the natural response would be to say, oh, I'm so jealous. And in that moment, I realized that it's on me that I haven't done anything. And actually, it's inspiring that she hasn't done nothing, that she has gone out and started to create what she wants because she was connected to the deeper meaning that thing was going to create. And I wanted less of London. I wanted less grey. I hadn't fully formulated the idea of what I wanted in its place. And so I think that idea of it's a tool for creation and destruction, inspiration, and also this, we can beat ourselves into submission if we cannot find our way to be inspired, to be motivated, or to be completely disconnected from it. As you said, John, if you're talking to people who you're comparing yourself to, and you'd have to be them to have their life. And would you want all of their life? You don't get any of yours anymore. You have to take every single second of theirs. If we can disconnect ourselves from that kind of comparison and really bring our awareness to when our brain wants to say envious or jealous or it's not fair, and be inspired and motivated, there is joy to be had.
Beautiful. Thank you. Vreni?
Oh, this is a tough one for me. I'm still processing what you said. I also agree with a lot of what everybody said. And I found it particularly interesting to listen to Angela and what she said about that as soon as we attach emotion to the comparison, it's when it becomes problematic. And I wondered, where is the fine line between comparison and judgment? And is it possible to come to a place where we compare without judging? Where we just look at the differences and we do not judge, not say it's good, bad, better, worse, right, wrong. Just observe and get curious. And I think from a point of getting curious about the difference, this is where inspiration sparks. This is where we can kind of create energy and motivation to maybe change when we like to change. Of course, ask the question if you really want this, or if this is something you are yeah, you just want to really go for, or if it's just this empty wish that kind of bubbles up and then vanishes again, and you'll never take action. But I think the finding the difference between judgment and comparison and exploring this further would be something that I'm very interested in, because I think what John talked about is a little bit the same, or goes into the same thing, because when you say like, I am in the first week of my program and the other show is already fully developed, I think when you just compare and see the difference, and you'll see what's missing, so you'll see what your action steps are. When you don't say like, oh, like mine is crap, which is a judgment, then it will not go into the circle of just feeling bad. Yeah, my thoughts.
Well done, well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Really
Yes.
rich. Thank you. Angela,
My turn.
what's your response to all this?
Well, it's interesting. We've all said kind of the same thing. So I'm just going to more expand because what Vreni just said kind of made me think. When I was thinking about comparison, and I was thinking about giving examples, and you know, when you're saying the thin line between comparison and judgment, and even judgment, there's that emotion part of it. And what made me think about when you get a negative emotion, it's actually finding our internal wounds. And I think that's pretty big. So for instance, and I will tell you, a vulnerable part of me is, you know, my eye is smaller. Like I was born with it closed, so surgery that opened, so now it doesn't close, but it's smaller. So, but I can see, that's what I keep telling myself. You can see, that's all that matters. But getting into like a public facing business, building my own brand, I've had to take like professional headshots, do videos. And then when you look back at them, you're going, I don't really look like the other, you know, symmetrically formed people. And it starts to get like, because of that comparison, I've had this negative reaction, even though I've been like this for over 50 years. So like, why is it getting me down now? But it is showing an internal wound that I've been a little bit bothered about my entire life. Like I don't look the same. I don't have eyes the same as other people. And it's been an interesting journey of self-reflection that's made me think about why people, especially in the age of social media, why some people look at a photo and then you feel bad about yourself. And that's just showing yourself where you've got a little bit of work to do, where there might be a limiting belief, where you might have been wounded, to be ultra dramatic for John, in the past. So I think that's really, it's such a powerful tool when we pair it with emotions. Done.
Lovely. Thank you. Okay.
Wisdom from John.
I'm not sure we'll get wisdom, but I'm not going to compare myself to you, that's for sure. See, there's something that's come up from all of us, which I'm only just really clocking. Comparing one thing to another. Vreni, you were talking about ranking, you know, creating sort of ranks and things. Angela talking about comparing yourself to another person, the way they look, or Wyndham, you know, your friend or your colleague was moving and you weren't. So much of the toxic danger of comparison, and I think we've covered the fact that there's huge possibilities of it being inspirational and creative and so on, but so much of the toxic danger of comparison is that it buys into the mindset of binaries, either or. Good, bad, right, wrong, success, failure, fat, thin, me, you. This constant sense that we sort of have to put ourselves in an oppositional relationship to everything else. That's where the comparison becomes particularly toxic. You said something very powerful in there, Wyndham, about, I think it was you, Wyndham, said, you know, if you compare yourself to someone else, you've got to take the whole package. You can't have any of yourself. It's got to be all of them. And Western mindset, really since ancient Greece, the Western mindset has been the binary mindset, the mindset of either this or this. Separate things, separate mind from body, separate, you know, art and science, separate one person and another, separate humans and nature. There is this sense that what comparison can lead us to is it can lead us to forget that binaries are nonsense. Nothing is really good or good. Nothing is all bad. Nothing is all successful. Nothing is all failure. Your life is neither better nor worse than mine. It's different. And everything actually lives on a spectrum. Comparison tends to take us away from living on the spectrum and instead puts us into either ors. I ran over by 7 seconds. Forgive me.
I stopped the timer so it wasn't so damning.
Thank you.
John, I
So-
like how you pointed out Wyndham's great point, which actually was your original good point. Well done, John.
Well, I just
It's-
thought maybe.
It's a really interesting point though, John, I think, because I have a sense that we kind of gravitate to the comparison as a thief of joy because it just seems really easy to buy into that and go, well, let's not compare. Okay, I'll catch myself doing that. Whereas what all of us have said is there's something much deeper going on, whether it's the emotional reaction or judgment highlighting an internal wound or our own fears or whatever it might be to this separation from all. The work required to get to that level of self-acceptance and understanding that we're all the same with very, very small differences, but we're all the same. We're all part of the same ecosystem, the same universe. But as you said, the Western teaching is not. So the amount of work it requires to really get under the skin of these kind of 6-word Instagram friendly quotes that everybody goes, yes, I agree completely. That's a good thing. Let's keep doing that, is way, way, way greater than just reposting somebody's post on Instagram and saying, well, I shouldn't compare. I must do better. It's, as Angela, you said, it's embracing these feelings as they come up because it's just information. It's just, and we've become so disconnected from it, it's very difficult to tune in and hear it for what it really is. Yeah, really interesting. I like the whole kind of comment about oppositional relationships and separation. Thank you, John.
Well, and I think that when I was thinking of examples, as I was trying to form my thoughts, was say if I wanted to change the shingles of my house. So I would compare my house to what someone else has and maybe collect that data. And that kind of comparison, I have no emotion to. You know, maybe some people do, but I don't. It's like, I just want it to be functional. So in those ways, it should tell us that we need to take the emotion out of the comparison for it to be really useful to us. Like, just look at it as a buffet of many things in front of you, and you just choose certain things to put on your plate, but you don't swear at the sardines. Like, they just exist, right? So let them be. That's how we should be viewing ourselves. Like, and that's what I tell myself when I'm comparing the way I look, is like, it's really important for people to see people who look different. I think it adds to the spectrum of people's voices. And so I'm important too. This is my little mirror self-talk.
You are,
you
are,
Definitely.
And you've
But
also
it's-
created a fantastic Instagram tile. Don't swear at the sardines. Brilliant.
Absolutely. Next month's talk will be first Tuesday talk. Should we swear at sardines? There's a really lovely thing there about if you want to get new shingles for your house and you look at the house next door and go, damn, their shingles are nicer than mine. You have limited yourself to the either or. It's either what I've got or what they've got. If you go out and you look all the way around the district and you see 17 different types of shingles, you've created a spectrum of possibilities, and you can use comparison between them to make informed and imaginative and creative choices. One of the things that I find it's useful to do when I'm coaching people, when people are perhaps struggling with their sense of their own worth, particularly as an artist, because many of my clients are artists, but not only, or struggling with their sense of achievement. And they often sort of go, well, you know, look at this person, or this person left school at the same time as me, and they're doing this. And just to take a little step back and audit and go, what have you achieved? Because as far as you know, they haven't. What have they achieved that you wouldn't want to achieve? You know, what price have they paid to achieve things that you would not be willing to pay? What price are you willing to pay for things that perhaps they might not be willing to pay? So particularly if somebody's, you know, having rivalry with a close colleague or a brother or sister or something like this, you know, just to say, you know, I really like the phrase you had, Wyndham, of, you know, you can't buy all of somebody else's life. You can't have all of somebody else's life, because most of it you wouldn't want. You wouldn't want what they've got. You just want a tiny little thing, and we fixate on that tiny little thing. And I'm sure you're right, Angela. We fixate on the thing which we feel a lack of in ourselves. And that's always some kind of wound. And I should absolutely recognize that in myself. That the places where I really struggle and have jealousy, I cease to, you know, look at people and I know that they have the things, or they appear to have the things that talk at a deep level to where I feel shame and insecurity and failure and so on and so forth. And then, yes, then up comes the emotions, and it becomes either or. I wish I had your life, da 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 da. But yes, if you do the work, as you say, Wyndham, and as you say, Vreni, if you refuse to buy into that ranking, the whole thing becomes a sense of going, well, there's a smorgasbord. Eat the sardines, don't eat the sardines. It's up to you. If you don't like the sardines, have the spring rolls. Really. Don't make a big deal about it.
Yeah. So just one thing on that. I think you were talking about working with people to have them analyze their own achievements. I don't know where it comes from, but it's almost universal that we just dismiss our own achievements. They don't even rank. We don't even think about them when people go, what are you proud of? Oh, well, pride comes before a fall. Don't ask me. I'm not proud of anything.
Yeah.
And you forget, you just become disconnected from these things that other people are looking in on you and kind of going, wow, so jealous of that, or I'm inspired by that, or I'm motivated by that, whatever it might be. And actually taking time to say, well, what have I done? Be honest, not have that fear and that lack feed in to say you haven't done anything, because you have.
I had this extraordinary experience in 2004. I was invited to Porto in Portugal to direct at one of Portugal's main drama schools. Lovely students, amazing students. And I was there I ran a 2-week workshop and then went away and then came back later and directed their Christmas show for them. So it's sort of preparation. Class of 20, really talented, you know, 22-year-olds, 21, 22-year-olds, that sort of thing. And I work from entirely positive feedback. That's my teaching method, unconditional positive feedback. And so I sort of said, okay, after the first 3-hour session, let's just sit in a circle. I've got to get to know you a little bit. Can everyone just go around and just everyone tell me one thing that you're good at? Let's see what we've got in this room. Just one thing that you do really well. And I sort of looked down at my notebook and I was just making sort of saying, okay, this is what they do well. And nobody spoke. And I looked up and they were all staring at the floor and 4 of them were crying. It was extraordinary. And I went, well, okay, you know, Giovanni, whatever, you know, tell me. And he went, it's extraordinary. And this wasn't a horrible school. This wasn't an oppressive school. It was a beautiful school. But they were terrified of saying, oh, yeah, I'm actually a really good singer. Even if they were a really good singer, you know, even if they have all the evidence in the world that they were a great singer, they wouldn't say it. And my main process during those 2 weeks was unconditional positive feedback, where after every single exercise, I put them into pairs and said, okay, you've got to tell your partner what they did well. They got so sick of being praised, so sick of it. But thank God, because by the end I said, okay, what are you good at? I said, oh yeah, I'm good at this, I'm good at this, I'm good at this. You know, but what is it that makes us so reluctant?
This would have been my question to you when you stopped talking. I was like, so what is it? What was happening before for them to sit in this circle and not being able to name a single thing they're good at? Because as you know, I'm a primary school teacher and I go into those classes and all those kids are like this, you know? And I'm like, something's going terribly wrong. We can't name it yet. So
I would say, from what I've seen, that it is a culture which tells us that we must always strive for more. If you sing well, you didn't sing as well as you could have done. Hey, comparison is the thief of joy. You should do better. Don't say you're good, you'll get complacent. Don't say you're good, you're just sounding arrogant or whatever. This constant sense that we are taught to grow by being pushed into the future, whereas that's not how we grow. We grow by being made secure in the present and encouraged to play and experiment. That's how we grow. We create great soil and plant ourselves in it, and then we grow. Kids play and they learn through playing, but somewhere in schooling, you got an exam. You only got 70%. What happened to that other 30%? That picture could be better, like this. The system takes us away from a playful sense of our own capacity into a competitive awareness of our own lack, and it destroys us. I mean, I think school, you know, I used to work at primary level, see primary kids coming in full of joy, and by the time I taught the same kids 10 years later, they hated learning. It's awful, awful. And I'm sure that it is because there is not the secure space of encouragement, curiosity, discovery, joy, playfulness, all of those things that we do.
I think also we're just negatively biased. So our brains are negatively biased because our nervous system wants to protect us. And in the past, it was, you know, physical threats, and now it's all mental threats. So we tend to hang on really tight to the criticisms, to the things that, you know, you should have done better, blah, blah, blah. And we remember those in efforts to protect ourselves. So I think that plays a lot of part of it, which is ironic because social media, which is a big problem today, only shows the good parts mostly. So we're looking at someone's good parts, but we're taking it with our negative bias. And if we do have those faults or those wounds, we will tend to grab onto those even more now that we're plastered with these images. But John, so in the interest of time, we are riffing a little bit, so that's cool. But
Jenny, do you want to make an input into this at all? Any thoughts? Absolutely no obligation to you, but is there any sort of input or thought you'd like to make, having listened to all of this? If no, say no.
It's actually really interesting having it pointed out that comparison is just a tool for looking at things, and it doesn't have to have the emotion tied to it. Because where I was coming from coming into this was very much, for me, I think it's just stuff that I've been dealing with at the moment. For me, that quote is just like, yeah, totally get it. Comparison's rubbish. It's not a thing. You don't want to be doing that because it just leads to all kinds of problems. But actually being reminded that, you know, like if I need to go and get a new phone, I will go and compare the differences between phones to find what I actually want. And that's a comparison which is functional, you know, because I'm trying to find the thing that I want. So at what point does it cross over into something that hurts quite badly at times?
Because really in life, we are also, it's like looking at the phone. We're just trying to find out what we like. So why do we take it so hard?
And your use of the word functional is really important, I think, that we can also do it for ourselves. That if we can detach from the emotion, if we can see the emotion coming up and go, oh God, here it comes. Yeah, or all of that emotion. Yeah, okay. If we can detach from that and say, no, I am simply looking at something, someone else's life or choices that I've made, or, you know, things that I did or didn't manage to do when I said I'd do them, whatever. I'm simply looking at that functionally and saying, what do I learn from that? What do I take from that? What do I want to do differently? If we can do that, then the comparison becomes an incredibly powerful tool for growth. Incredibly powerful. But as you know, really, we're right back where you started, Wyndham. As soon as we see that the problem is the comparison, we are ignoring the fact that it's actually what we bring to the comparison that's getting in our way. And if we can step back from that and say, let's view this functionally. I love your word there, Jenny. If I can view this functionally, then I can use this as the tool that it is. And it is, yeah, it's a place of growth. And, you know, as you're saying, Vreni, creativity and inspiration.
Yeah, Jenny, when you said, when you were talking about the phones, I'm trying to find the thing I want. I talk with my clients all the time about, what do you really want? Because you can have whatever you really want, but what we really want is never the mechanism we create it. So when we're looking at wealth or fame or fortune or beauty or whatever these superficial standards of success we've been persuaded we should want, they're just mechanisms in service to something deeper that we really want. We want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be accepted, we want to be loved, we want to be safe. I think of the 5, and safety splits into 3 or 4. But all of those mechanisms, I haven't done the qualitative research on this, but I am convinced all of the things we do in life, to some level, are trying to create those things for us. But we're so disconnected from it. We think we want to be millionaires. We think we want bigger houses. We want more fame or fortune or more friends or more beauty. But the question I would ask is, what is that going to give you that you don't already have? Because once we understand that deeper meaning, there are myriad mechanisms we can pursue that don't require me to diet and do 1,000 sit-ups every morning, because I don't really want a 6-pack. I don't. I want a body that lasts me the rest of my life. So once I've understood that meaning, I can give up the Men's Health magazine subscription and the 64 eggs a day, because I don't need to do that. Thank you, Jenny. That was really interesting.
Yeah, beautiful. I think as we hit 45 minutes since we started at 3 minutes past the hour, I think we should wrap that. A really lovely conversation. Thank you. I feel really enriched. I hope we can grow these conversations to deepen. And thank you, Jenny, for that input, because that input from the, from somebody who's listened to the four of us go through is really powerful to me. It really talks about what's being said and so on. So next month's talk, which will be facilitated by Gabby Cadena from the USA. Gabby is an organizational psychologist, and her talk or her topic is humanizing the workplace. It's real important to her. I think it's real important. Whatever your workplace is, how can we humanize the workplace? I don't yet know who's on the panel, but we will find out fairly soon, I'm sure. For now, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you.
That was fun.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you very
Vreni,
much, everybody.
Wyndham.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Jenny. And let's hope that we got a recording.
Yes. All right. Bye for now, everybody.
Take care,
See you all.
everybody.
Bye.
Take care now. Bye
Bye-bye.
now.